Hello, it's me, John, aka Nosy, and I'm here for a little chat. And I'm going to talk about Beast Wars in this chat. The reason for this chat is because of this article by Polygon. If anybody wants to read the article in full, I will put it in the description box below. This article was interesting. Now, you can, I don't think we are going to see a standalone Beast Wars series in the near future, but this was basically just talking about that. Beast Wars even though there's a lot of appreciation for Beast Wars, but there's also a lot of older fans that no, you know what I mean. There's a bit of a divide. Some don't like it within the fan base. Some really do, especially those that grew up with it, like I did. Now, the article in question was basically just asking the question of, is it time for us to return back to the world of the Maximals and the Predacons? Not so much kind of like revisit what we've already had, but kind of like a new adventure, a new series, like totally different. Now, this is a very interesting question, and as a fan of Beast Wars, if anything new was to be announced in the near future for a standalone Beast Wars as a series, as an animated series, well, they have attempted, or they brought the Maximals and Predacons back in the Netflix animated series, but unfortunately that did not go down too well with some fans, especially how they portrayed and how they were done in that series. The voice acting was bad, and I just thought how they was treated and how they went about that series as a whole, which was I believe it was when they adapted the Kingdom Toyland, where they introduced a lot of the Beast Wars characters, a part of that line. It's an interesting question. I'm in two minds with this question. All right. Part of me, Beast Wars was a thing. It came out at a certain time, and it was a revolutionary series for its time because, as we all know, it was it was the second only ever, the second series ever to be in complete CGI. The first one was obviously Reboot. Reboot was the first fully CGI animated series that was for kids. And Beast Wars was produced by a company called Mainframe, that was also the people that produced Reboot. And so Beast Wars was kind of like a trendsetter in a way when it comes to animation, when it kind of introduced CGI animation to the mainstream, really. At a time where animation was still being hand-drawn and it was moving into digital methods. There was still a lot of stuff that was done traditionally drawn back in the 90s when this first came out. So at the time, CGI animation was still relatively kind of revolutionary, and it wasn't until, say, like Toy Story, which was the very first fully CGI feature-length movie, which really kind of attracted a lot of gaze, and that's basically where animation has gone now. Is CGI pretty much took over. There is still stuff being produced in hand-drawn methods, but that it is mostly everything is all CGI nowadays. And as I absolutely adore Beast Wars, what we already got. The 3-season run was fantastic. Yes, the animation is relatively dated for today's standards. The animation is still relatively dated. However, I was told about this by my good friend Arrowfyre. Shout out to my good friend Arrowfyre, the awesome guy there. He is also a fellow fan of Beast Wars, and he does his own podcast. He's part of a podcast, does his own podcast where they talk about Beast Wars related stuff. If you're interested, I will again link all that information below in the description. It was Arrowfyre that told me on YouTube, I don't know why, but somebody on YouTube actually updated the animation, or updated it to 4K resolution. There is actually, on YouTube, you can go on YouTube right now and you can watch the entirety of Beast Wars, the original Beast Wars series, in 4K. And the 4K does give the animation some lovely, so it just puts a bit more life into the animation. It looks a lot better. It looks really, really vibrant, and it just looks really, really nice compared to the original, what it was originally like. Even though I still love the original, how it looked originally when it aired, and I still to this day really appreciate the animation even now. But seeing it in 4K really does give it a little bit of vibrance. I would very much like them to maybe re-release Beast Wars. I don't know who has the rights, but I would love them to release a full, either a Blu-ray or a 4K box set for Beast Wars, like update the resolution, because in 4K it looks absolutely beautiful. The question that the article is asking of, is it time that we kind of revisit these characters as in a different series? So it's not like retelling what we've already seen. It's not retelling. Now, I would happily have a series that is a standalone series, but a completely different story. I don't know how it would work being a different story. I mean, it was original. They came to Earth. The Maximals and Predacons, they crash landed on Earth like millions and millions of years before the Autobots and the Decepticons came out of stasis. Because you see this in the original Beast Wars series, is kind of like millions of years before the Autobots and the Decepticons woke back up and was reactivated. Part of me would like to see, if they ever did do something, I would like to see the Maximals and Predacons before they do go to Earth. I know this sounds very carbon thingy, is that a lot of fans would love to see a film that is just on Cybertron. That is, well, like we've got like Transformers 1 is a great thing, because I know Transformers 1 technically failed at the box office, but with Transformers 1, it did kind of give us a look at the Cybertronians, at the Autobots before they became Autobots, and the Decepticons before they became Decepticons. They gave them an origin film that was completely on a Cybertron. You see them when you see Optimus as Orion Pax that would later become Optimus, and then and so on and so forth. They gave all the characters like an origin story, even though we've already had origin stories in the comic book and also in the G1 series, but different continuities. It's slightly different in everything. But they decided to do a standalone CGI feature film that was a full-on origin story that was just on Cybertron. And this is going to sound very samey, but obviously in the original Beast Wars series, they didn't really have a lot of money when they did the original Beast Wars series. They didn't have a lot of money. They only had enough money to do certain characters, and they didn't have enough money to do different designs. And you do sort of see, but they're all shadowed. It's all done purposely like that because they couldn't really afford to do full designs of like what the Maximals and Predacons looked like before they took on an animal, or before they became animal formers or what have you. There's a lot of discussion throughout the original Beast Wars series of what happens on Cybertron, and I would love to see a Cybertron from the Maximal and Predacon perspective of what was Cybertron like. What was Cybertron like when the Maximals and Predacons were about? Because if you remember, the Maximals and Predacons are actually the evolution of the Cybertronian race. It's just because they go through a time portal, they go through like a vortex or whatever you want to call it, and end up in the past. That's how they end up arriving on Earth before the Autobots and Decepticons wake up. But in reality, the Maximals and Predacons are technically, you could say, the evolutional form of the Autobots and Decepticons. So it would be really interesting to see a Cybertron that is mostly consists of the next evolution of the Cybertronian race, and then probably would lead them probably going to different worlds. I know that sounds like I'm pretty much just kind of, I know it sounds really daft to me saying that, but I'm just trying to think of a way to keep it fresh and not kind of tread too much on the toes of the original series. Because I don't want them to do a Beast Wars series that basically retells what we've already seen, and it tarnishes what was so special about the original series in the first place. Because at this moment in time, in reality, I don't think Beast Wars would do very well nowadays. I think it would. I think some kids would like it, because any kid that's into animals, that likes dinosaurs and insects and mammals, I think some kids would like it. But I think we're living in a time right now where I don't, because obviously when Beast Wars originally came out, a lot of fans that grew up with like the original G1 series, a lot of people was very confused by it at first, because they just released this thing and people started watching the odd episode when it started airing, and a lot of the fans that remember the Autobots and Decepticons were really, really confused about all of a sudden they are animal formers. And a lot of people really, some people really took to it very, very easily, and a lot of people was very, very unsure of it. And that is why the original Beast Wars series is seen as a series that was lost to time, because they only did 3 seasons of the original, and then they moved on to Beast Machines. I know Japan, they did Beast Wars 2 and Beast Wars Neo, which was part of like the Japanese continuity. I don't know. This is a very, very, very interesting question, and a very hard one for me to say, because I would very much love to see a return of the Maximals and Predacons. When the Maximals and Predacons was announced to be in Transformers Rise of the Beasts, I was like, finally, we're getting Maximals and Predacons in live action. And then I started seeing the concept art, and I was a little bit unsure when I was looking at the concept art and looking at how these characters would perform, and then seeing the voice acting talent that would portray these characters, and I was like, oh dear. And then I went to see the film. I ended up really enjoying it, actually. I do like Rise of the Beasts. It's not perfect, but I did like it. Mostly because the Maximals, mostly the Maximals was in it. I did enjoy Rise of the Beasts, and I thought it was really cool to actually finally see the Maximals on the big screen. However, I think they were, even though they were relatively handled well, but there wasn't at the same time. And of course, Rise of the Beast didn't do very well. It didn't do as well, and I don't know what's going on with the future of the live action stuff right now. But yeah, I think because of the reception of Rise of the Beasts, I generally think if they decided to do a standalone animated series, that was just the Maximals and Predacons, I don't think it would work in today. I don't think it would work today. I think a lot of kids wouldn't really resonate with the characters. I'm not saying every kid wouldn't. Again, I think you're going to see a 50-50 divide. It would be like a 50-50 divide, like it was when it originally came out. I think you would find it would be a heavy divide between like the younger demographic watching it. And I think the only ones that would get anything from it would be those that grew up with it originally. I don't think it would work, sadly, because they did attempt to bring them back, the Maximals and the Predacons, and they fought alongside the Autobots and Decepticons as part of the Netflix animated series. But that ultimately failed as well because I just think they handled it very badly. And then Rise of the Beast, the reception of that film, it didn't do very well at the box office. So I generally think, bringing Beast Wars back, I don't think it would work I don't think it would work today. I would absolutely love something again. But again, I don't want them to tread on. I don't want them to disturb the foundation of what the original Beast Wars did. The original Beast Wars was a big gamble, and it was an independent animation studio called Mainframe that decided to go along with this. And whether you like Beast Wars or not, you cannot deny it really did it was one of the animated series, very early CGI animated series that paved the way for what animation is like today. And I think we can owe a lot of appreciation for that fact. And I think we need to leave Beast Wars where it is. I think I would absolutely love them to re-release it and upscale it to 4K and get an official release in either Blu-ray or 4K resolution, because I think Beast Wars deserves a re-release. Even though I would absolutely love them to do something in the future featuring the Beast Wars characters, I would love them to kind of branch out and introduce different characters, because there was a lot of characters that was in the toy line that was never in the series. There was meant to be more characters, but they just did not have the money back in the day in order to really branch out. But if they did do something, if they did decide to do something, I want them to be fresh. I want them to have a fresh approach. Still kind of give a bit of nuance to the IP, what the original fans would understand, but I want them to be fresh. If they did something new, I want them to be fresh. I want a fresh approach. Bring in, do as many characters as possible. But there we go. Arrowfyre, what are your thoughts on this? I don't know if you've already answered this question, but it'd be interesting to hear your thoughts on this. Whether you would like to see a new series with the Beast Wars characters again, or what if they did decide to do it, what would you like to see happen? Would you like a completely fresh approach? Because obviously you have got the comic book continuity as well. The comic book continuity does kind of flesh the characters out a little bit, and you do see a little bit of them on Cybertron before they go to Earth, and it kind of kind of gives you a little bit of a backstory of like them on Cybertron before they go to Earth. So you have got the comic books for Beast Wars as well. So they could kind of like delve into the comic books a little bit and give us more of a comic book adapted animated series for the Beast Wars characters. Who knows? But Arrowfyre, I'm looking at you, my friend. I'm looking at you. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.